And it's lovely to see you.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Why are conferences like this important?
Two reasons I would say. One is that there's so much new science coming out all the time. It's almost like annually is not quite enough. But this meeting, second reason, is very special because you don't get the sense of community anywhere else. When I see people gathering from countries where it's often very challenging to find people who look like you, feel like you, have the same challenges with you that you have if you're infected and living with HIV, it's pretty empowering to see people together and really showing unity and gaining strength from each other.
Yeah, I have to say, the first conference I attended was in Amsterdam. And I, as a person living with HIV, was overwhelmed emotionally.
Really?
And I was talking to a young man this is his first conference, just earlier. And I said, what do you make of it? And he said, it's so emotional. And those of us living with HIV, and I think, there's 15,000 people here, and we are all working towards the same goal.
Yep.
And we don't get to say that very much anymore about anything these days,
Not
do
anymore.
we?
No, definitely not. Yeah, and imagine, in some ways, you and I have grown up in an environment that's been quite accepting. Not to say it's perfect,
Sure.
but just the idea of it being the first place where you can be yourself. It's a coming out of sorts. And so I can actually feel that palpably, especially with the younger folks. So that's really lovely. And it just makes me feel even more strong about making sure people have this place to gather and to share science and to share strategies and to share ways of being healthy.
So let's talk about collaborations, because this is a big collaborative conference, and I think collaboration is key. What are your views on how important global scientific collaborations are to end HIV?
I think we learned a lot from the pandemic that very few countries can go it alone. There's no way, and if a country does go it alone, then other people suffer because you're not sharing what you should be sharing, and we learned that really painfully. I think with regard to HIV, it's even more imperative because solutions that might work in one place or for one population are not necessarily going to work for all populations. And even if you look at a place like the United States, you've got incredible regional differences. So there's a lot of work to do, I would say, more on what I call the biobehavioral spectrum and also the regulatory side.
Tell me in normal human being talk, what
Biobehavioral.
Yeah.
So that means, to me, it means that the bio part is biological medicine, vaccines, call it what you want, monoclonal antibodies, et cetera. They're the things that scientists sit around and think are going to be the coolest things since sliced bread, the magic bullet, the magic gel, the magic injection, the magic shot, whatever you want to call it. The biobehavioral side, to me, is making sure that what you have on that side is actually congruent and matches how people live and what they want and what they care about. So, there's so many good examples where we actually have made very good products. Oral PrEP in women is a great example, right? It probably works quite well if you take it pretty frequently, every day, exactly. Yeah. Has that really been taken up in the population the way that it has, for example, in men who have sex with men and gay and bisexual men? No. So I think that you have to understand what the users / communities need and desires around what they want to engage with are. And for a lot of reasons, I think in our model of science, it's always been so top down. We know best, and I think we're learning that the hard way that is not the case. So the biobehavioral thing is really trying to understand how you can get those tools, first of all, with user design input very early on, and then getting it to a place where people will want to use it and they can use it comfortably, safely, and sometimes confidentially.
And it is so much more than just the medicine, as you've mentioned, and as we talk about it, that's one little part of it.
Yeah.
But we have so many other issues that need to be wrapped around, and I guess that this being the conference of putting people first, that illustrates that.
Absolutely, and that's been a really big theme here. So you hear a lot of voices about what that's going to mean, and you hear a lot of voices too advocating for access, which is going to be critical and expensive. Mm-hmm. This is not going to be a cheap intervention.
Again, it comes, but not just sort of the medical side. housing insecurity.
Absolutely.
You know, we have in the
Absolutely.
States, we
Yep.
have huge problems
Yep.
with
Yep.
homelessness. And if
Absolutely.
you don't have somewhere to put your meds,
Yep, yep. Yeah, I was just talking to someone who's looking at that exact thing, who's offering mental health, serious mental health counseling and medication for people as part of really trying to help them maintain their adherence. And it can be miraculous once you establish that kind of relationship that takes into account the person. Yeah, I've been really pushing this idea that we are great at scientists, and even my institute is classic historically at focusing on the pathogens. We love the pathogens. We love our bugs. You
Right.
know, we love them. They're
Sure.
beautiful. You got the beautiful virus. You know, it's like
Oh.
sort of almost sexualized. It's
Okay.
like, I mean, it's I find it like actually we're not treating the bugs. We're treating the person who happens to have this condition.
Yeah.
And so
It's a balancing act.
it's a balance act, and it's much more, I think, integrated, and it's recognizing that it comes back to meeting people where they're at and recognizing that people are complex and they have a lot of things going on, and they are not defined by having a virus or whatever infection you want to talk about or whatever condition
Right.
you want to talk about.
What role do you think AI plays in the future of cure and administration and access?
Probably, let's start with the discovery pieces in the lab. AI is allowing us to do some very cool modeling of, for example, new antibiotics, new antivirals, new antibodies. So the computational computer models that you're now doing to visualize the interaction of, say, antibodies and the virus are just mind-blowing. And so you can start working back from those models to say, let's design this perfect thing that's going to really block exactly where we want it to do. So that initially informs something like antibodies, but then it tells you what you need to do, a vaccine to do. So that's very exciting. It's also identifying drug targets. So I think that's the first thing. At the larger population scale level, I'm not so sure. It scares me because
I think we all are.
I mean, there's so much opportunity for social manipulation, and I worry. I think maybe we can use it to get closer to people and get closer to where people are and who they are, but there's a lot of danger in that.
There's a lot of what ifs still.
There's a lot of what ifs still.
Speaking of what ifs, how should we be best prepared for the future when it comes to ending HIV and AIDS?
A couple of things. I would say the whole question of cure. So, we are edging closer to a cure as we edge closer to knowing what the reservoir is, how to really deal with it. I think we need to start talking about the concept of cure. We are doing that, and thinking about if we have the opportunity to cure people, are people going to want it? I mean, is it something where you have your life, you've lived your life with HIV.
I've asked myself this question.
So what do you think?
It's interesting. If someone came along tomorrow and said, here's a jab, and now you no longer have HIV. As much as we try and on a positive spin to say HIV doesn't define me as the person, but it is such a giant part of my life. I've built a whole life around this, plus life media. It's so it is so important. And to think about, like, if it was just gone tomorrow, I'd be like, it's almost like being fired. Do you know, losing your job? What do you do? So it's an
But at
interesting.
some fundamental genetic level,
It's
literally, it's
yeah.
like snip, snip.
Yeah, but it's like,
Yeah.
gosh.
I know.
And as much as we say HIV doesn't define me, yes, it does in so many ways. What do you see the future of the AIDS movement beyond 2030?
Beyond 2030, that's an excellent question. I see an emerging generation of young people who, of course, have not seen the most devastating consequences of HIV, and we've been saying that now for 10, 15 years, ever since we got potent antiretroviral therapy in the 2000 era. But every generation gets farther away from that devastation and those images and those memories. And I think there is a sense of invulnerability that comes with youth, and even more so when you don't have that that memory. So it's not to say we keep talking about it as a fear, but we just need to make sure we equip people with the tools so that maybe they don't ever have to worry about that. That would be amazing. The other thing is, again, I come back to sexually transmitted infections, non-HIV, because if you have a population that is increasingly healthy and increasingly sexually healthy and active, we really have to figure out how we're going to figure out the STI portion.
Yeah.
So I really, that's a big one that we now need to deal with.
Jeanne, thank you so much for
My
your time.
pleasure.
This was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Delighted. Thanks a lot. Good luck.
A really, really interesting conversation. That is going to do it for this special Plus Talk. Remember, you can like, follow, and share us across all of your favorite social platforms. We are at Plus Life Media, and you can get more information by visiting our website, pluslifemedia.com. Until next time, be nice to one another. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.